What's up? It's your boy Bobby Sapphire, and we are here with the 9th episode of KTOD Radio. A little worried about the 9th episode, Justin. This is the one that broke Star Wars.
It's a little early. We do it all to give you content. It's 6 in the morning. How are we doing this?
Yeah. With the KTOD boys, Justin just won a magic. What do they call them? PPTQs? Do they still call them that?
RC,
I think it's RPQ now.
RCQs,
RCQ.
RPQs, RTPQs. I
Nice.
did just win one. Excited to win.
Yeah,
Another
vamping
game.
people. And then I get to party with KTOD Maddie on Friday night.
We hit up the dance floor. I'm still struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
The Miller Lights were flowing.
The Miller Lights were flowing.
Yeah.
This podcast is sponsored by Miller Lite.
Hey, you never know.
That'd be nice, right?
I tried not to get too down on the dance floor because of my foot, but we do things for family.
Do the
And
stanky leg.
Were you wearing the boot?
No, I've been out of the boot for a couple weeks, but I still shouldn't be dancing, even in Hoka's with $75 inserts.
You just scream out. "Oh my God."
He gets down, he can't get back up.
And then communing with nature, Stevie gets outside.
Yes, sir. Doing it from outside. Memorial Day weekend on Cape Cod. Got the family down, full house. Blow my brains out.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, Memorial Day weekend. That's why I didn't hit up any showdowns. I think probably a lot of us in the same boat. Although I guess Justin did play Magic, so he was able to get out and play some cards. But I'm kind of stuck. I think maybe I could do the 6:30 tonight one, but I don't know. I don't know if I can.
Where's
get
that?
There. I don't know. I'll check the list.
Ooh.
I'm not sure, but there is
I'll
one
never
at
get off
6:30.
Cape.
But you could get off Cape on Sunday, right? Sunday night? Oh no, probably.
I was
can't.
thinking Sunday's probably.
No.
People
No,
still.
it's
Sunday's the worst.
Yeah, a lot of people still working tomorrow. All right, so we don't have much to say about. Oh, I just realized the Gen Con slides in the wrong pot. We're gonna do Gen Con before Shadows cards, but store showdown results. I've got them up on my other screen, but there have been obviously tons and tons of store showdowns. Lots of different things winning. I was able to take one down, a draft one, in probably the craziest alt format in the world, where it was a draft, but you get two weekly promo packs, and you get to add them to your pool, and you get to play with the takedown. So, like the
Wasn't
takedown
there some
promo.
trading involved as well?
There was some alleged, very alleged trading, but that turned into like a whole big thing on one of the local discords. So I don't want to rehash it here. It was like quite the conquest. But
It
was
is a
able
pretty
to
wild
win.
alt.
Even though I had no promo pack cards, I did play my takedown and paid 6 for it. I was playing Green Boba Fett. So,
Well, congratulations for winning a Mace Windu set.
yeah, I mean they
Those
go
maces
for
are
a
cool.
decent amount of money still. I mean, not like the 350 that they were going a couple weeks ago, but still good money. Tiny Grimes
feel like
texted me last night that he won a store showdown with Yellow Boba last night.
Stock list.
Stock list. He played the stock list. No, he has some other crazy list. He says that my list is bad. So,
I feel like I'm having deja vu here. Every tournament Mike goes to, he wins.
I mean, I've won 2. That's good. I'll take it.
Yeah.
You guys aren't there, so
That's
not
true.
as difficult.
If I show up, you don't win.
Fair enough. There's been a lot of
He
different
has been
stuff.
killing the draft game lately, so
Steve's crushing the draft.
I got
doing
3
exclusive
passes
video.
burning a hole in my
Oh,
pocket.
where's
We
my
gotta get
other
there.
Steve? You got to do the other exclusive Patreon video for us.
Yeah, I got the Chewy one. I'm gonna send it out tomorrow or
Nice.
tonight. I'll
Sweet.
send it to you tonight, and you can get it out
Chewy?
whenever. Yeah, I got
It's from a
from
couple
the
weeks
the
ago.
Chewy draft that
Oh, nice.
we
From
we
Tree
both
Stories?
PO'd.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to do more draft content, but it just isn't super popular. But if people want draft content, let us know. Steve's been
Yeah.
doing
Let
some
us know.
exclusive Patreon videos, so like we could always make those public after a few weeks if people want to see them. Or feel free to join the Patreon. Reflex came in second last night. He played Yellow Grand Inquisitor, which is a list that like our friend Chris had been working on for a while. He lost in the finals to George, who was on Blue Boba, Game 3.
And he beat
GI
George
games
too.
in before
In
night
the
set.
Swiss.
Yeah, he beat George in the Swiss. That Blue Boba is
interesting.
good.
Yeah. Yeah, it lines up. I've been playing a bit of that Blue Boba, and if you get some of the matchups that it's like, been created for, they feel really good. And and because it's boba, it can kind of punish some other randomness you get at like a short showdown.
And I think the Grand Inquisitor is really good. It's just because of it has so many natural counters to some of the things it's doing, like Tarkin Town and stuff. It can be a little bit of playing on hard mode.
Yeah. When I saw the message in the testing team channel, I just thought it was people talking about set 2 Grand Inquisitor. Because I think that obviously he's on the rise. But playing it out, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, good. That's a good run.
I got my showcase ready to go. Set 2, baby.
I think that is going to be a pretty popular showcase for set 2. Some of the cards, we'll talk about them. I couldn't even fit them all on the slideshow, but some of the cards that go in the Grand Inquisitor deck are just insane. We've started playing with the shadow cards too, just because there isn't a whole lot going on with the set 1 meta anymore. Like there are a couple store showdowns, but not really a ton of room to like innovate at this point. So we will talk about some of the interactions we've been playing with, basically proxies essentially.
Although I have been playing Yellow Chewy that won a store showdown from our someone posted on Discord, and that's been like pretty fun actually.
Yeah, and we have
way better than I thought.
We have a lot of set 1 content lined up for these final 2 weeks. I would say probably 2 more weeks of steady YouTube videos that have to do with the set 1 meta, and then we'll move on. We'll move on from there after we post some of the gameplay and some of the analysis that we've got lined up. And then, I guess this is as good a time as any. We're dropping our own spoilers this Friday. Friday, May 31st. Around noon.
There have been some clues. We've dropped a few Easter eggs in the
have you got any comments
Discord
about
over
that?
the past week? Not one.
Nice, perfect.
But we'll see if anybody picks up. People just don't pay attention these days.
Yeah, we need Detective Tower on the case.
No perspicacity in these Zoomers, let me tell you.
Post the indubitably sticker.
Anything else that's like been winning showdowns that you've noticed? I still a lot of Sabine, still a lot of yellow Sabine, still a lot of yellow
the
boba.
yellow Sabine.
Yeah, really our Patreon subscribers.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing.
Showdowns left and right.
It's true.
Lothar came in second at his. He said with his like more droid focused Sabine.
Oh yeah, I saw that one. Yeah, that one's pretty wild.
A lot of people liking 3PO, Justin.
Yeah.
3PO stunts on the rise.
You were on that a long time ago.
I think
Chewie deck plays it.
We'll talk about how 3PO is going to be up with one of the specific spoilers, but I think one of the things we have channels on the Discord for like the cutting boba channel and also the green Sabine channel, and it's like we haven't made updates, Mike, you or I, or on Sabine and the boba respectively, but you continue to get tagged every like Sunday morning. It's like, hey, won my showdown, thanks at Justin or at Bobby Sapphire for your name. I see it all the time of like, hey, deck was fire, and so it's exciting that it's still doing well.
Yeah, and then sometimes people play the exact list. Sometimes they make changes. I always think like making changes to cards that you like is really, really important. I tell people all the time, like, yeah, if you're just gonna resource those swoop racers or whatever, play something that you're not gonna resource.
Play something different. Yeah, I got a lot of messages like, what's the new update? Because I've been doing I did updates about 3 or 4 weeks to sort of shift to the meta. And I've been responding. There actually isn't, like, as you get to a point where you're kind of like, well, the meta doesn't shift enough for there to be changes. You don't want to change just to change.
Yeah, and also you've covered all the different changes for the different
base.
metas, so like you can backtrack. Is this a big boba weekend? All right, what were we running that big boba weekend? So keeping track, and like not even keeping track, but learning what's good against what is really important. Because then you can just make your own decisions. You don't need to ask.
Exactly. That's like a big thing, that I've seen in some of the deck threads is like once you kind of get the games under your belt, you know how you want to play it. Like, to just bring up the blue boba again real quick. Like there are certain cards that, that George had originally, and like a few of us played different cards, and then like watching the evolution, he just said in like the thread, like, oh, I finally ditched the cartel spacer and did this plan and it worked. So it's kind of fun to see like the permeations and people making changes based off what they're gonna see.
Yeah, he put in the mining guild ties, and then in like game 3 of the finals, he drew like 6 cards off of it against Reflex.
Yeah. If that thing gets going, it's
when it's unchecked, it's pretty dumb. Especially from I didn't talk to Reflex yet, but some of the comments that he did post were like there was a lot of pass claim, like George would pass and he would claim. Which would, it allows for the aggro deck to like get in free damage without being checked, but also if you don't close it out quickly, then that control deck is like, eventually they can stop resourcing and then just be drawing
Yeah.
2 cards a turn, or like they don't have to resource if they're going to kill 2 things a turn with their cards.
Right.
Yep.
And
Yeah, they
that
can, like,
yeah,
stop at
the
6.
blue Boba one is especially scary because he just got into a position where he could like play double fire spray and win.
Yeah.
What else did I want to? I feel like there were other decks that like maybe deserved attention. I guess like just the yellow Sabine. Still a lot of ways to do it. I keep getting I keep getting checked by Rebel Resource in the Discord every time I have like, well, this is what someone asked me about my list, and why do I have Ezra over Rogue Operative or whatever? Because Frank and them are on Rogue Operative, and I like Ezra. I think drawing cards and aggro is just absolutely fire. I don't like to attack on a trade back. Anyway, so that's been an interesting experience. The yellow Sabine thread in our Discord is easily the most popular one,
Yeah, that one is
or the most
insane.
active rather.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So let's yeah. So 2 more weeks of Store Showdown, 3 more weeks of Store Showdowns, at least, maybe 4. Pre-release weekend is July 4th weekend for Shadows, so at least 3 more weeks. I know. I should be getting to 1 next weekend and 1 the following weekend. You guys gonna come up to
Not the
Great
one on
Stories?
Pawtucket?
The Pawtucket one.
When's Great Stories?
Great Stories is
Pawtucket's
the
next
8th.
weekend.
Pawtucket's next weekend. There's a Winnabox in Abington next weekend, Friday night that I'm gonna
next
try and
Friday.
go to.
Yeah, I can
I
try
could
to
probably
make
do
the
that.
Great Stories.
It's a
Try to
Thursday
do the
night
Great
one.
Stories one.
Yeah.
Yep, there's a
Is
Thursday
Great
night one
Stories
at
in
a
the
brewery.
afternoon on Saturday?
Yeah, it's capped at 24.
Oh,
No,
I'll
no,
have
not
to-
Great Stories.
Oh,
The Pawtucket's capped at 24.
okay.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna be looking
Yeah.
at June 2nd, June 8th, and then probably the Winnabox on the 31st. So hopefully by next podcast we'll have a lot of events to chat about. But
Sweet.
I haven't played any constructed events in a while, and yeah, mainly it's just like hunting down the drafts and driving to the drafts. All right, so we're going to Gen Con. House is booked. Tickets are booked. One of the things that we did want to talk about when it was first happening, but probably forgot, is just like the craziness around the events and getting your badge. This was a new experience for you guys, Justin and Matt, doing the Gen Con
Yeah.
thing. So like, from your point of view, I guess like talk about how you feel like the Gen Con, win a badge, buy a badge, make a wish list, win a lottery to get into the events. FFG has a bunch of events scheduled. They have like basically fill and fire drafts and constructed all day, but they had 3 128 person constructed premier events where the top 16 will receive a mat. So
That's
yeah,
sweet.
talk about your experience with that and thoughts.
Yeah, so it mirrored the classic American film from 1992 with Tom Cruise called Far and Away, where they talk about the land ownership deeds, where you have to plant the flag. And if you notice the end, Maddie cracking up. Maddie's got a mustache from that era. Yeah, it was wild.
How do you plant his flag?
I committed to the bit.
Like jumping and like planting the flag on the lot. Yeah, it was wild. I mean, we were all fortunate to get it, so we all got them. I was the last to sort of get one, like get the alert. Mike, as usual, was like, "Oh, I think I'm not going to be able to get it." Actually, in the very first queue.
Yeah, you
were like that. You were, I think, the highest number that I saw. And then Maddie, you posted that you got it. I was a little behind you, and then I got it. And then right after I got it in our Discord, people were like, "Oh, missed out! I can't believe we missed." So I must have been one of the last people to get it. But then people were able to circle back, which was good. So.
Yeah, because people added it to like the wish list process, but they never checked out, or people, people will eventually not go through on their Gen Con plans and it'll restock. But it can definitely be harrowing.
Especially when you like book your travel
easy.
And book your like, we already have a sweet place to stay, and like you need to do that ahead of the badges. So imagine like signing up, getting a sweet place, putting money down, and then like you can't actually go to anything.
Yeah, and Gen Con knows, and they let you like return stuff for like 75% or something like that, which isn't awful, but it does feel bad to want to play in one of the big events. I've never seen FFG cap an event at Gen Con like this, but these are not supposed to be competitive events. They're just sort of supposed to be like throwing a bone to the community because there hasn't been much.
Yeah.
But they had specifically said they don't want the major events like Nationals, Continentals, Worlds being tied behind a a con pass
Yeah,
that
con.
costs like $150. So we'll see if
Right.
that continues because there's also a huge con presence. So like,
Right.
you know, just because
I
they
like
said
I like the like card game events at cons. I've always enjoyed them.
I do
You get to
too.
walk around.
And I've been to Gen Con 3 times for Destiny, and I didn't get to do anything else, any of the event, because I just like play
Yeah.
all day. But like
Yeah.
I like that. I don't need to do the other things, but I know for other people, it can be really tough to just be like stuck doing one thing all day for like 9 hours when there's so many
Yeah, and there's so much
demos
stuff
and
to
free
do.
stuff.
Yeah.
You can
Like-
sneak out though, like play fast, play aggro.
Play aggro,
Just
play
go-
fast.
I mean,
They're
walk
usually
around.
like a
Yeah.
mile away from each other, the
Right,
demo room and the
right.
con room.
Right.
I'm definitely interested and excited to see what the competitive play actually looks like from FFG because, like you said, like these aren't that, and technically speaking, store showdowns aren't competitive level play either.
No, they're supposed to be mad
So-
casual.
Yeah, once that ball gets rolling, I think things are really going to start taking off, and I'm kind of in a waiting game for that personally. But
I hope so, but they're like it's taking so long that I don't know how many players they're losing. Like how many people are gonna not buy set 2 because set 1 didn't go
Well,
well.
it's taken long, but they said this.
Yeah.
Like it is they're following their own plan.
They are, but it got way more popular than they thought.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it went way better than they thought. and
Probably
it's
needed
like-
to move the timeline
And then
up.
what's going to happen
Yeah,
set
they gotta
2? Is
press
it
it,
going to
baby.
continue? Right. Or is it going to fall off because people are going to be, not want to deal with the shortage or they never even
Yeah.
got all the cards from set 1 and there's not a new drop on set 1 cards till November. So like I still can't build the set 1 decks. Why would I start building set 2 decks? I'm just worried that
Yeah.
it's not going to continue to be as popular. But it is
If
crazy
set 2
popular.
happens like set 1, then I could see that. The good thing is there's like a lot of 1Ks and like a lot of local stores are like carrying the torch,
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely wonder if like seeing how popular the game is, if an accelerated timeline would be the best way to.
But they do
capitalize
so
on
what it's like October, right? Where they're dropping I forget the Galactic Showdowns, is that what it is? Like the store based, like the sort of regional events?
Yeah, I think it's towards the end of set 2. So yeah, probably
Yeah.
October.
I mean that's not too far away if you think about like people could theoretically use like Gen Con results for these events or look at that and be like, go to Gen Con and be like, yeah, I can't wait for this store, the Galactic Showdowns in a couple of months because you're looking from August to, September, October. I think we're, I
5
mean, if
months.
you're excited about this game, you've got new set coming out in July. You've got like summer events, which usually spike for card games. There's usually more events in summer. And then you've got like pointing towards, what they're going to do for prizes they'll announce too, right? Like they're going to announce like at these things, this is what it's going to look like. 'Cause they haven't announced that. Now, if they whiff there, they should be putting their efforts in, and I know they watch, so this is to them. Put your efforts into like making these prize packages for these events like up the ante because
Yeah.
people want to play and people want to play competitively. So start, have your board meetings.
There's also
well, for me personally, I wasn't going to go to Gen Con just to play for a playmat. Like at that point, I
Right,
was
and
like,
there is
come on,
that
dude,
side
really?
of it too.
Yeah.
They have to push. Hopefully they
Sorry,
push.
Mike. I didn't mean to cut you off. I know you like playmats too, so I don't
Well,
want
they
to.
sell for a good amount. Is like the thing that Mike's probably gonna say. I'd imagine.
yeah, but also like there's some of that and like I get there's like, oh, we're only playing for a playmat, but not for nothing. We've started a pretty successful business and I want to press that. I want to like
Yeah.
and the way I do that is like I like to go and play. Like, yeah, I'm going to fucking fly to Florida for one night because this is the thing I do and I want to go,
Right.
test my
Yeah, but
mettle.
you're winning those
That's
tournaments.
legend
I'm not winning
status.
those. I'm not going to go to for
I
a
just
shot
wanna
at winning
wear-
a playmat.
I want to wear KTOD gear
Money
at a
draft,
con.
Yeah, that's true.
Money draft wearing my KTOD sweatshirt at a con.
God,
I still
that's
think
the
you should think
dream.
about Gen Con,
Playing
Steve,
some
just to
numpties.
come hang in Cube at the
Yeah,
apartment.
the cube's gonna be sick.
Well,
The potential
honestly,
loft tournament.
At this point, I've been struggling to get my rear end in shape for that bike ride anyway. So my plan is if I don't end up doing that, even though I'm signed up for it, then I'm just going to come out and I don't personally want to play a 128 person event anyways. I'd rather just grind drafts all day because
Yeah,
That
that sounds
way
great.
more
More
fun
There'll
that
be
way.
plenty of
And we'll just
opportunity
Yeah.
to play.
chill in the loft.
Yep.
If
You'll
I
just-
do well enough in the first event and get like what I want out of it, there's a good chance the second one I just
Yeah.
hang out with people and draft.
You can
and
also
Same.
give your ticket to someone. So
That's
like
what, yeah. If someone didn't get to play and
Right.
and all that.
Right.
The
Makes
other
sense.
thing
Well, I'll
about
just tell
summer,
TD Todd to stick it then.
There you go.
the SCG cons are going to have unlimited all summer, and there's one in Baltimore, there's one in Vegas, and then I don't know the
That's
September
cool.
one, but Justin, you were just saying that your
Yeah, so the
PTQ,
regional qualifier for Magic, which happens 4 times a year, this one's a Star City one.
and that'll be
So the big company,
DC in
and it's
October.
DC October 3rd, the 4th, 3rd, 4th, 5th. So I might say hi
Start
as
lining up
I'm
the
playing Magic.
babysitters.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna
Yep.
put that on the calendar, and as long
Yeah,
as
you
there's
guys have to go. Yeah.
yeah, we can
I'm
drive
down.
to DC like we did for that
Mhm.
Magic 5K
You can lose
all those
another
years
box
ago.
drafting in the back seat.
Oh man, I forgot
Dude,
about
that's
that.
also
Or we
where
can.
that's also where one pack one Jace happened.
That is where one pack. We could also
Yeah.
fly.
One pack,
So we
one
have to
Jace.
drive 9 hours.
Yeah, we should fly.
I
but
lost
still.
my
We
win
should
and then.
just fly. They drew to keep you out.
Didn't like you and Jason like wreck
And Blaine.
and Blaine like
That was the Chantilly one.
The hotel sheet story. Somebody stole it or something like that.
Oh yeah, I
Bloody
think Blaine
sheets or
stole
something?
the. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. That. Oh God, I
Like
have
they
so many
like
repressed
drew.
memories
That
from
was like
that.
the Brown weekend. He like drew on the sheet or something like that, and
then
Jason got
Jason
all
was
upset.
afraid. Yeah.
Yes.
So
So he
yeah.
took. They
Wow.
just stole the sheet.
Wow, how do you remember that story? And I was there, and so yeah, Blaine drew and Sharpie on the sheets, and then Jason was afraid we get charged and stole them, which doesn't
Yeah.
track. Yeah,
Sort of
sounds like
oh my
16-year-old
God.
mentality. But Jason
Yeah,
was so
well,
cool
What
back
do we
then.
do?
Yeah.
What do we do?
And our buddy Andy had carried around this one pack of World Wake for like years and years, and I just cracked it on him, and there was a Jace inside.
This was when Jace was like
Yeah, like $120
$150.
or something.
Yeah.
I also lost a playset of Jace's in rock paper scissors to Blaine. He leveled me so hard. It went from like
Oh my
one
god.
pack to 4 Jaces. It was bad. It
Remember
was
the
very bad.
degeneracy those years, like RPSing
Oh my
and
god.
like coin flipping for like
Yeah.
people
I
coin
remember I
flipping for
watched
hundreds and stuff.
Yep. Oh my God, we
Shahar
were
and
idiots.
that guy Jacob were coin flipping for like $500 bills. I was like, what are you guys doing? You're just doing it for hours.
$200
Where'd they get a
I know.
$500
Yeah.
bill?
I don't know.
The U.S. Treasury? What day?
Wow.
The Treasury
The
was
Get that one.
Connect. The Treasury Connect.
Funny money.
All right.
money.
Anything else about events before we move on to Shadows?
No,
'Cause
just
this
if you
is-
go, like hit, like say what's up. Like
Oh,
that's
yeah,
some
we're
of the
gonna
most
have so
fun
much
is like
stuff.
going to events and seeing people. And we got. Oh, are you busting them out? The ribbons. Come on.
Yeah, we're gonna have some gear.
I've got the
be
Numpty
a-
con badges.
Yep, for all you numpties
So
out there, part of the
all the
KTOD
Numpties can come
community.
out.
Yeah, you get
Yeah,
a
there's
badge ribbon.
our like design studio for swag is certainly active, and we don't
Yeah.
want to spoil what it is, but we're growing the brand, and
Yeah,
with
we got a lot
that,
of cool
getting
stuff.
some cool, really
I don't
cool.
want to spoil it, but here's what you're getting.
All right, let's talk about Shadows cards. In the realm of good, bad, broken, just to keep it linear, keep the tradition going. Just a good way to sort of like approach looking at these cards.
I hate this game.
Well, I mean, you could just talk about it any way you want, but it's a good way to
I'm going last because I feel like the last time we played this, I'd say something and everybody went the opposite direction.
Well, no one is keeping track.
On
It's just a
purpose.
way to get the conversation going. Do you think Rey is
I'm
good?
keeping
She's
track.
a 2. So she's similar to Luke, right? She does an action to give a token. This time it's an experience token with the unit 2 or less power, and she flips on 6. She's got Restore 3, which we already know is freaking bonkers.
That's a lot.
And then can give an experience token to a unit with 2 or less power. She has 2 or less power, so when she attacks, she becomes a 3/7. Usually, I mean, I would imagine that you're buffing your leader 99 times out of 100 here. I think that this is really good from what I've already played against it. That experience token with some of the mono blue cards that you can play to like empower Queel and restore and play Vigilance for 4 is pretty gross.
But is that like a card? Like, could there be
Yeah.
another blue leader in there
That's what I thought.
that's
All right,
gonna
I'm
be
gonna-
my ticket? Yeah.
I'm gonna go bad, and for this reason, she's basically Tarkin, but coming out a turn later. And in all the games I played trying to make Tarkin be good, his stats are just so mopey.
Yeah, so
And the
I think
experience
she's
token just
so-
doesn't matter.
I think she's good. I think that
Oh,
she's definitely not
here we
broken.
go
I'll help
again.
you out, Steve. I'll help you out.
I think
Thanks,
it's
bro.
on
Everyone to
what
disagree
Maddie was
with you?
saying though. It's if
You
she's
really
good,
think
it's
she's
not
good?
because of her.
Yeah, I think the thing that's mopey about Tarkin isn't his leader ability, it's his unit ability. When he comes out as a unit, he's ass. And she restores 3 and she buffs herself. And she can continually buff herself. Well, I guess she continually
No,
buff the
she can't.
board. She can't buff herself, but she can
Yeah.
continually buff the board.
Yeah, but so does Tarkin. He buffs the board, and he comes out a turn earlier, and he's what, a 2/7, and she's
2/7.
essentially a 3/7,
Yeah, she's a
but
3/7
coming out a turn later.
with restore 3.
Ah, the restore is insignificant.
All right.
You can, so yeah, I'm gonna say I think in draft she'll be good, and I know that we've seen, shout out to Frando, Blu-ray looks spicy, looks good, but like
That's
I
because of the
think
blue
once
cards.
the dust
though.
settles,
That's
I
what
think
I
it's a blue card pool. I don't think she's gonna be heavily played just because of the fact that when she hits, like, she doesn't make enough impact on the board, in my opinion. And I think that given, how the actions work and the fact that yellow is so good, I think she's gonna fall behind. Like,
Yeah.
there are some cool things you can do with her. But I'm gonna go in when the dust settles, she'll be in the bad realm. I got you,
I think
Steve.
she's good. I think she's sort of in like the Chariot realm where like that you could play a competitive deck with
Yeah.
her, but I don't think she's gonna be like we're gonna be like, oh my god, how do you beat the Ray decks? And like you over and over and over again for like an entire meta, you're like she's not gonna be like a Boba or a Sabine
Yeah.
or some of these other leaders that are really consistently at the top.
She looks fun to play with,
The
and
thing
like there are some upside, but
The thing I like about her is that, when we get to the Luke turn, he's often so far behind he can't catch up. And I think with Ray, you're not necessarily going to fall as far behind because of the lean into restore. I think like also Blue just got a bunch of help. I think that Conquered Dawn Protector's card is like fairly
yeah, that one's sick.
insane.
Yeah.
I think the pool, like I think she could be good with the card pool, but I guess my point is like,
Is she
it
the best
is,
blue hero leader?
Yeah, so I mean, like,
Right.
there's gonna be a mono blue Ray deck that craps on aggro or whatever. Like, that's not a question, but like when we have a full block or whatever, are people still gonna be? Is it gonna be Ray or is it gonna be the blue cards themselves?
Yeah.
I
It's
can't wait
crazy
to
to
make
think
my
about.
bluey deck. So just saying.
It's crazy to think about in like a couple sets how many actual leaders there's gonna be too.
Mhm.
I mean,
I
even
know.
we're just doubling right now. I mean, it's already going to be
Yeah.
insane after 2
So is it
sets.
just gonna go triple and then quadruple?
Yeah.
Like just keep going?
Well, there's going to be a rotation, but I
Crazy.
don't know if it's a 3-set rotation or a 6-set rotation. But if it's a 6-set rotation,
That's gonna get
we're
nutty.
talking about, jeez, so many 100 liters.
Yeah. And the other thing too is like I know not every like if the next set has rare bases, because I don't know how they're doing it with how many sets related, but like think about those combinations too. If you had more rare bases, like it can get wild.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
true.
Yeah, I think that the bases are going to get the bases have real design potential to get crazy.
Yeah. I wonder if it's like one set a block or what. How they're gonna
Especially
do
if you
it.
think about, they give them planet names or whatever. You could have like some like Star Wars CCG type synergy where it's like on Adelon, this leader, adds 2 tokens
Oh,
instead of 1.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
That'd be cool.
Oh, that's cool.
All right. And darkness to meet it. So Kylo Ren 4-drop, 5/4 4-drop. When he's a unit, he gets -1/-0 for each card in your hand, and then his leader side is trying to get cards out of your hand. Discard a unit. Give a unit +2/+0 for the phase, which I've already seen be really, really good with Dengar readying itself a bunch of times and just keeping being a 5 attack that can hit for 2 or 3 times in a turn. I think this card is probably pretty broken. I think it's at least good. I think that some people thinking it's bad are crazy.
Yeah, I think it's very much the card you want to look at to break. I mean, Reanimator type of decks, graveyard synergies, being able to discard. We saw his tie, so there'll be other cards that come out with
Yep.
similar synergies. His tie is very strong. He comes out any leader that comes out on 4, even though he's sort of easy to kill. You think about like some decks don't have just straight removal, and then you can use Sentinels and you can buff Sentinels. With him on the board seems really strong. Like there's just a lot of powerful things with him.
Yep, and you can even enable just whatever underpowered units you need to play to facilitate the strategy, trading up into things that would otherwise make Kylo tough to kill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Tough to keep
interesting in the
alive.
sense that like he doesn't need to flip. He's probably like one of the most powerful leaders not flipped.
Yeah, free action. I
Yeah.
mean, in the hierarchy of like leader actions, right? It's like triggered ability, like Boba,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
that you don't have to pay for or spend an action on. Free actions like Kylo, like Chewbacca, um, and then paid action probably just
Pay to
the
win.
absolute worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think again, like obviously going to put him in the good to potentially broken, depending on the card pool stuff. There's more stuff like the tide. There's more ways to interact with your graveyard. Um, you know, in the pool, like things like Fennec, right? Like if there's stuff like that kind of become a theme, he just gets better. But even what we've seen in limited testing with him, like I mean, if you're gonna play Palpatine on 6 resources, it's pretty disgusting with the Palp returns card. So we can get pretty crazy. And I like the point of like you don't have to be aggressive with it. You can also buff your sentinels or stuff like that. So he's got a lot of options.
Yeah, and if your opponent ever taps out and you haven't attacked with something, like it's just a free +2/+0 since it behooves you to get rid of the cards in your
Right.
hand. You have Smuggle to sort of like play as a secondary hand.
Yep.
And then of course, like with the Reanimator card, you can just start pulling things from the discard. It doesn't even have to be a Force unit; it just like can be.
Yeah.
It's hard to disagree with all that. I'm with the masses on
So
this
wait,
one.
no, we need your official. Is it good, bad, or broken? I'm
I'd
writing them
say
down now.
between good or broken.
All right, broken.
Yeah.
Broken.
Steve
it
learned
is.
my
Gonna be
move
one
of
of
the
the two.
hedge. The hedge. Yeah.
You can go trim a hedge. All right, Justin. I think this is your favorite card.
Yeah. I
I'm
think this is probably the most powerful card based upon stats to deploy ratio to abilities. I mean, it just always. I think it's broken. I think it's just like the, absolute bomb. I think that like the when played abilities are like the most strong because bounce is so strong,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got like a sort of negative ability that really isn't negative at all. It's like, okay, you resource to 6, kill a resource. You're not ever really caring about going to
right.
7.
This is the top end of an aggro
This
card.
is the top end. It does nutty thing. Like its stats are exactly what you want with like 7 and 6. Like that, like they kills every leader. Not every leader, most leaders can kill it if you like overwhelm with ECL and like it can kill 2 things
That's what
and
I was
live.
thinking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like being able to kill 2 things, live, and then also do that in one action so that they almost have to either kill it or just like claim and hope to draw something. Because then your next action can just be attack for 7. Imagine doing things like surprise strike or heroic sacrificing this card.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so strong.
Timely intervention now.
Yeah, I was gonna ask Justin, is this enough to like put timely intervention into Sabine, just so you have the 3 more or like 1 to 3 more ambush
Yeah, I
overruns?
think it's interesting. I mean, I don't think this is crazy to run it off aspect in some decks. Like, I could see the Kylo Reanimator deck playing this
Oh,
card. Like this card is so incredibly powerful. I think
that's
it's
kind of
obvious.
saucy.
It's obviously like Sabine, you're gonna play it, but like
This guy's been playing too much Magic lately,
I don't
reanimating.
know.
It's
This
it's
he's just so
basically
good.
a Palp, 4 through 6 if you want more Palpatines in your deck,
Yeah, and
right?
I
Like
think it's I think
cost
it's
8
actually
does something similar.
I think it's
Yeah.
similar to Vader in a sense. Like it's going to kill something, and Vader's gonna kill something, and it's
Mm-hmm.
got a body that's gonna attack, and like
Yeah, as
it
long
could
as
be
you
even
can
better.
ambush it, it's like a Vader. Yeah, for sure.
I
But
mean, even
it
if you
doesn't. You don't
don't,
even need to.
Vader attacks for 5, or Vader attacks for 5, and then
This does 5.
he's
I
got a
just
small butt left. So like, I do like the fact that when it comes into play, it impacts the board right away, and then it's a big body that you have to deal with. Where like sometimes with Vader, and I mean Vader's pretty disgusting, obviously, but like sometimes with Vader, like you ambush in, and then it's like so easy to remove. Whereas like
yeah, because
even
you
if
have
you
to, I
don't
mean,
ambush this thing in, it
right.
impacts the board heavily, and then it's like massive 7/6. Like
It's
6
massive.
booty
Yeah,
is so
6 booties
important
a
at that
lot.
side. Yeah.
Yeah, and this card is absolutely busted.
Yeah, I'm excited to play. I'm excited for 3 timely interventions in any deck with this card. I just want it.
So what's
Yeah.
the official mass is broken?
Yeah, I
Broken.
think it's broken.
Broken.
Broskies. Yeah, I like that.
All right.
God, wait.
Speaking of 6 booty, here's Poe, who is a 6/6/5 drop, which is insane
Yeah.
stats. Now this is an on attack trigger, not a when played trigger. People discard up to 3 cards from your hand. For each card discarded this way, choose a different option. That means you can't choose the same thing twice. So you can discard 1 and do these things, or 2 and do 2, 3 and do 3. 2 damage to a unit or base. Defeat an upgrade. Opponent discards a card from their hand.
We got to say broken just on the fact that it's a
Broken.
5 cost 6/6, let alone
ECL him on turn 5, follow that up with black 1 on turn 6. Like, let's
He
go,
kills
baby.
just about everything in the game on turn 5.
Yeah,
I
you kill
think
Vader.
I've cooled a bit on him. I think he's obviously you can't say he's bad. And you have to say he's good. I do think he's not quite as good as I first thought, just because of reading skills on my part.
I thought the same thing though, to be
but
fair. I think a lot of people did.
Like, I think he's very good. He's probably broken, but it's just like at first you're like, oh my god, he does 6 and he does this and he does that. It's like to actually get those things going, like without ECL, isn't that easy, because you can think about Waylay and it's just like, okay, I did the thing without any impact. So it's going back to the like when played abilities thing being so strong. I think there's 2 routes you can take with him. One is you can play him in a deck with these colors and sort of just play 3 copies and just maybe you have ACL, maybe you don't, but like if his ability triggers, great. Otherwise, it's a 6/6. They have to kill him. Or you could look at some cards and some like leaders that really like try to like fill your hand, so that if he actually sticks, you can just like discard. So like obviously black 1 is the obvious synergy, but like
Use Han
C3PO.
to ramp into him.
You can use Han, you can use C3PO to like play all 2 drops in him and just have like a gigantic hand. That was something I thought about of like you literally play nothing but 2 drops. You play 47 2 drops in Poe. So your hand is just, and you mulligan for C3PO. That's obviously like, corner case type of thing, but
cannon, but
but I think there's like ways that you can
Cassian
theoretically
draws
do that.
cards.
The TIE fighter that you guys were talking about earlier in like a yellow version, Cassian, to try to like fill your hand and then just basically have him come in with ECL and do like all 3 things. And then if the interesting thing is if he sticks, he's just going to keep doing it. So like there is like this crazy snowball that he has. So probably broken. It does seem like there's more of a bear. Like you can't stop Wrecker from doing his thing other than like not playing units in the ground.
Right.
Like there's nothing that actually stops him, and bouncing him, he does it again the next turn.
Yeah.
Whereas Poe, you can be like waylay it, bounce it, freeze it, do all those things.
He's another in a long line of really good 5 drops, but like a lot of those 5 drops haven't made the cut. Like think about how high we're on Rook when he first came out. It's so hard to make Rook work without ECL. But now the thing is, now we get timely intervention, so we do get 4 ECLs per game if we need them, and that is going to make Poe a lot better in my mind. There's also the
timely intervention confirmed broken, because it's the card.
Timely's broken, and it's going to enable. Good. But that's like we talked about ECL being like this, for a while, and people, a lot of people disagreed. Like, oh, ECL's not that broken, but like Ambush is that broken, and giving units that weren't designed to have Ambush is broken.
Although timely not that great with this guy, just because you're down a card and you have to discard.
You're just going to be lower on cards,
Yeah, well, I smuggled timely, so I'm not down a card. You're down a card.
Yeah. And attacking with the 6/6 ambush on 7 resources.
Speaking of smuggle.
Speaking of smuggling, Bazine Natal, a hero of the First Order, spy for the First Order. So this is a 2-cost 1/3. When played, look at opponent's hand. You may discard one of those cards. If you do that, the player draws a card and she smuggles for 4. Another hand disruption for yellow villain. I've seen a lot of a lot of people saying it's bad, a lot of people saying it's good. What do you guys think? Is choosing an opponent's card to discard and letting them draw a random card good? I think it's really good.
I think it's good. I wish she had like 2 attack, so she wasn't too like mopey if you completely brick on the redraw. I'm just personally happy to finally know this character's name because I always thought that was a cool scene in the movie, and I had no clue who she was, and now I do.
She's
There
hot.
you go.
You don't. But the thing is, you won't know if you bricked on the redraw. You know, for the most part, you just
No, you
you just
don't.
get to
But like,
believe.
just thinking in terms of value,
Like if you
because like
look
a
at their hand and
1/3/2,
it's
like
all
we see
mopey.
1/3/2 drops don't really do anything, and then they just die.
Yeah, I
Like
mean, I think
she's not trading with anybody.
Yeah,
Out of the
1/3's
1/3,
been a number that's really unappealing. Like 1/4 has clearly
because
been
isn't that what
decent.
yeah.
3PO is too? He's here 1/3.
No, 3PO's a 1/4, but like Bib,
1/4,
Mon
yeah.
Mothma, like there's a lot of
At
cards that
least
have
Bib has a
value in that spot.
shield, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Bib
Well,
has a
the
shield.
way I
Yeah.
think of this is like you're playing it in a really go wide yellow, sort of like a cunning boba deck where like you
And I don't
want to
think I'm
play
playing
two
it
two
on
drops.
turn one.
Right. You want to play 2/2 drops, or like you played something, killed something, untapped boba, played this again. But also just like it's people are playing freaking Spark of Rebellion for 4. You're telling me
Yeah.
that against like control, you wouldn't rather just play this for 2? And it's an underworld card, so it works with McClunky. It works with the new adventure card that we're gonna see if you need to do it more. It's just
I'll say
a
this: I
much
wouldn't
cheaper
hate
option.
playing her for the smuggle cost. I think
Yeah.
that's going to be more beneficial than playing her
Well, if
on
you're on,
2 for 2.
but if you're on the play on 2, you can take their 2-drop.
Yeah, a lot of people
You
that
can
first
do that.
turn you
Yeah.
resource, and because it does any type of card, so like you're on the play, yeah, people resource to just have one
Yeah,
two
that's a
drop
good
because they
point,
don't want to
Justin.
hold 2 drops. I mean, I've blown up tons of people by sparking on turn 1 just because I didn't have a better play.
Yeah.
Regional
I don't think
governor
it's
naming
broken.
A-Wing has won me some games.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's got a slot. I mean, look, you don't have to do it too. You can look at their hand and say, "Hey, your
Yeah.
hand sucks."
Good.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But
But
Should
I
have mulliganed.
but I
Yeah,
Shut 'em
think
that's
all
like the
down.
biggest big
like
DM
smuggle
play.
cards are obviously good, like right, because we could just play it late game if we don't have anything
Yep.
else to do. But also like as a top deck on the play, you know, this can be
Yeah,
really good.
Yeah.
you guys
I think
all
she's
play
good.
this. I'll take the draw with my C3PO deck, and you'll look at my hand and see all 2s. I got any 2s?
Yeah.
Got any twos?
And go
It's
for
coming.
it.
Got 2s.
I think
Yeah, and I
this
think
card
that,
is good.
like,
It's just situational.
yeah, I think like because we're seeing like with the yellow boba and some of those decks, like you need to strip a card at a precise
Key
time.
point, yeah.
Yeah, like you need to get rid of the
Super
brush, you
laser
need to get rid of the
blast
super
or
laser
something,
blast.
yeah.
So like being able to smuggle that in when you need it, or like Mike said, make an early play to set them back so you can get ahead. Will she be main decked in a lot of these decks? I don't know. It's so hard
That's
to
another
find room, but
idea
I think
too,
she'll
yeah.
be in the 60.
Yeah, I
I
was
think
just
she'll
gonna
be
say
power
like,
level. Yeah.
but if she's a staple sideboard card, in my mind, that's good.
Completely
you know?
good.
That's
Yeah,
good.
exactly.
Yeah.
But people paying 4 for Spark and 5 for Bodhi already.
Yep.
Obviously, those abilities are stronger because they cleanly take the card. I'm happy to play the odds and say like whatever I get rid of is going to be really important for that moment. And even if they get another card, like it could be a 2-drop, it could be like a 9-drop or whatever. Like I'm in there to take out the card that's going to blow me out that turn. And if I can time walk them, like there's very few cards that time walk people for 2, and I would like more options to do that.
Yeah. Take their only play. So important.
So I wasn't sure about this to include this one, but I'm really curious what you guys think about Kira. She's a 3/5 4-drop, and when she looks at an opponent's hand when played, and while she's in play, whatever card you named costs 3 more. So this is another form of that time walk ability where like you take their only play for the turn and say like you have to kill Kira or you can't play it.
Mm-hmm.
I think
she's
I like
strong.
her. I think she's good.
I think she's really
I think good. Yeah, I think that the stats is just tricky with like one of the things I was thinking about is just like critical mass of like power, and she might just fall behind there. Like if you look at like the red white cards, we saw Poe, we saw Wrecker. Like what do you do if you see him? It's just like great. And you think about like how many good 4-drops there are. Like you say, imagine going up against like some of these decks that are curving a little bit lower. Even though she's like 3/5 is pretty solid there, but like think about how many games you play as Sabine, and you have like multiple things to do on 4, and you're like deciding between which one. So she comes out, and you're like, oh, okay, well now I'll do the other thing. That's like really powerful. Like maybe you've got like K2. Yeah, and I actually think that like she's gonna be great in Sabine because she locks out a lot of. She's like an action, and then like these relatively hard to kill, and like maybe they take down her, but maybe you like just name the takedown. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's a whole bunch of
Name
stuff you can do with her.
vigilance, you know.
Yeah, I think she's really good in Sabine. I think you want to play her in the aggro decks.
Yep.
I don't think
Aggro
you want to
tempo.
play her in the control decks because the aggro decks have more choices. Because it's like think about your turn 4, you have like Wing Leader or K2, and you're like, well, which one should I do? And they both feel really good, and it's like,
Right.
well, if she pinches one of those, it's like you're just gonna do the other thing.
Yeah.
Kind of
She is
feels
also-
bad. She comes out on 4 and Boba comes out on 3 with the same stats.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Boba's
Boba's-
stats are nuts.
yeah,
For sure.
he's nuts. He's insane. But I mean, I think that you in the aggro decks, like Justin said, you can play her and shut off their play, like do the time up. But also, like the interesting thing too is like if you're a control deck playing against other control decks, like she can lock them out who are
Yeah.
playing slower and really relying on some of these big drops or their vigilances or whatever the heck is the flavor of the week there. So like I think she does have utility in those control mirror type things too.
Although it's interesting, just the way the way the game's made is like turn 5, you're gonna 85% of the time the player's gonna resource that card. So it's like there's some
Yeah.
play to it. There's some play around to it. It's not
Yeah.
like other games where
For
they're
sure.
like locked. You're literally freezing your hand. So it's one of the nice designs of this game.
But
Yep.
ideally, you are picking something that you want them to resource and not
Yeah.
play. So
Even like Han, like just playing like we've seen like Blue Han got popular because you had better ways to protect Han. Like this is another thing that like can lock them out before the Han turn, so like you don't get frozen or these other things.
Mhm.
Yeah, all these cards. It's an interesting thing of like if you've got your play lined up
Mhm.
and you have like the action to like just jam it because you might not be able to play it.
Yeah.
So like if say you've got like a card that you really want to get out there, the correct play might be, even though you want to like take the actions and get a little more info, it might be just a jam.
Mhm. All right, moving on to Kylo's TIE Silencer, a 2-cost legendary 3/2 starfighter. And this is the first card that has I think it's the first card that has game text when it's discarded. So like when it's in the discard pile, if it was discarded from your hand or deck this phase, you can play it from your discard pile paying its cost. So you natural synergy, you pitch this with Kylo to make something +2/+0 and then play the silencer from your discard pile.
I think it's busted.
Yeah, it's really broken. It's already
That's
the only
not an
3
option,
attack.
Matty. It's good, bad, or broken.
3 power, 2-cost ship.
My answer. Yeah, and like I think people get hung up on like, oh, it's only a 3. Like it's a 3/2 for 2. It's gonna go in any deck playing these colors, and it has also this insane upside. And like I'm looking back to like old Magic the Gathering like reanimator decks. What was that like 1/1 when he milled off your deck? He just came into play and like everyone played that card.
Necromebia or whatever.
Yeah, like there's
Yeah.
just so many
was blue.
possibilities with a card like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, little squiggly jellyfish thing. There's just
Yeah.
like a million possibilities with this ability,
Yeah.
this stat line, this cost. Like,
Yeah,
if
and
you're
it's
gonna play it in every deck in the color, it's broken.
and it's our first
Yeah, you're gonna
anti-mill
play it no
card
matter
too
what,
that they've
right.
given us. Like if they mill this off the top of our deck, we get it. So
Yeah.
like that's stupid in and of itself.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, it's
Oh, that's
yeah.
cool. Like
They
against
mill
vigilance.
us, we
vigilance.
get
I
a
didn't even
thing,
think about
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like
Yeah,
you just
I think
throw
that card's
this and it
very
could be a
strong.
sideboard card against like
Kanan.
for against mill, even if you're not on an aggro deck. Like just knowing against mill you have to close people out. Throwing 3 of
Yeah.
this in your sideboard, and if it gets milled, all of a sudden you have like a 3/2 ship.
Is Kanan a May ability, or is that must?
I'm not
For
sure.
them to mill you, I'm not sure.
Like, yeah, do you gain
But,
the
like,
life
they're
without milling?
Yeah.
You just like spot it.
Well,
No, I
I
think
didn't know if you could
very clearly
if
powerful.
you could choose not to mill it to not gain the life.
It's a May.
So I'm thinking like, is it? That's kind of cool. Because like, what do you do if you're Kanan and you're attacking and you flip that over? It's like, probably
just-
gonna leave it
yeah.
on top.
That's crazy.
You might not wanna.
Yeah.
You have to choose before you see the card. So you have to like.
Oh, is it before?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
like on attack, you may do this thing.
Nice. Yeah.
Oh, that's silly.
I think the card is very strong. It's also important to note, like, villain red space is just going to be so.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
This,
it's definitely It's between
It's
this
also-
Dengar, Imperial
Sorry, go
Interceptor,
ahead.
Ruthless Raider. Like
Yeah.
the red ships are just so much more busted than every other color.
Yeah.
I mean, I've already
First
been playing a
3
lot of this, and it's good.
First 3 attack, 2-cost ship.
Yep.
Is that right? the only one. That's
Wow.
cool.
Yeah, A-Wing obviously has the raid, but this one actually trades back at 3. So like,
Mhm.
yeah,
Right,
much
which is
different.
huge.
awesome.
Yeah,
Which is huge.
A-Wing does not want to see this card.
No.
No, not
No.
not if the A-Wing's on the draw. But yeah, I mean, I've already been playing some Kylo. I've already been playing some Bosk, and like, this just kills all the early things, so you can trigger your bounties and stuff. So it's really good.
Yep.
All right. Somehow Palpatine is returned. Play a unit from your discard pile if it costs 6 less. So you're paying 6 to get a 6 cost card back. But if it's a Force unit, it costs 8 less instead, meaning that you can play things like Darth Vader unit and Emperor Palpatine unit for only 6. If you can discard them, which is what Kylo enables, Force Throw enables. I've played against this card a bunch already. I haven't played with it yet, but I've played against it a bunch. And yeah, it can confirm 8-drop Palpatine pretty broken on the 6 resource turn.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Yeah, I think it's broken. Me, almost certainly.
Force Lightning too. Force Lightning. You discard on Force Lightning?
No.
No, you spend resource
You
points.
spend
That's right.
resource,
Yeah.
And like it's only going to get better with more Force stuff. But what we have already between getting back a Vader or a Palp is pretty nuts.
I mean, you think about Kylo discards Vader, buffs something. Kylo discards Palp, buffs something. You've got Palpatine Returns to get him back. It is a little bit. I will say it's a little bit like with all the discard you're seeing.
Yep.
Like to discard one of your really impactful units, and then like they name like Regional Governor gets Palpatine's Return or discard it or something like that. So like, this card being like sort of holding on to this and then they get rid of it is a little bit scary.
Yeah, I think in a normal mid-range deck, this might not even make the cut. But in a deck like Kylo, where you're like playing a super laser tech, buffing it to 4, actually killing something with that super laser tech, and then having this for the following turn to reanimate that, like it can be really, really good. There's a short window there. But if we're just like playing this for extra value, we're not necessarily going to be looking to discard those cards. We're going to be more looking to like use this as a 4th Vader or a 4th Palpatine or something like that.
Yeah,
in
it's
like a
really
more
interesting with
mid-range deck.
Slave 1 too. Like just that like decks can play 6 Slave 1s and then like it's just 1,000 6-drops. But like is there a Boba list with whatchamacallit bounty hunter crew with this where you're just like holding serve and it's like getting real weird.
One thing,
Mike, what color was the Kylo deck you've been testing?
Red green.
Red green.
One thing you can do too is like if you're worried about that, like because we talked about the free action of Kylo, is you don't have to like pitch too early, and because Kylo comes out on 4, like you usually like we
Yeah,
talk
you can
about
do it
like
that
finding
turn.
avenues to like make your opponent tap out dealing with your board, and you still have your resources. So because he comes out on 4 resources, you can play him on 4 or 5. And you get so ahead on the board they have to answer that, and then like once you know that they can't remove the combo, then you remove the card from your hand and then you Palp return it. So like with these early leaders, and we've seen it like as like your control against Sabine, right? Like you have to they play Dodonna, you have to spend your resources to deal with that, then they play Sabine, it gets free, stuff like that. So like you can kind of bait them to use their resources and then still have this in your back pocket.
And then still have it. Yeah, and you got the for red green you can do the 6 Sentinels too with Kylo, which I've been digging.
So I think it's broken just because you can either use it as like an exploitive thing like that, or it's just going to be this like it's in every 60 because of the power level of bringing back slave ones and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big boy card for a long time, and I'll be looking forward to seeing what they do with Snoke, and if we're going to be reanimating Snokes too.
Yeah.
All right, speaking of doing broken things with 6 costs, this new adventure card costs 2, return a non-leader unit that costs 6 or less to its owner's hand. So it's like from play to its owner's hand, and then its owner may play it for free. So it's a weird way to like bounce it to your hand and then replay it, but this is essentially a blink effect. It's just that I think this game isn't designed with an out-of-play zone. So the idea here is you have a unit in play, you pay 2, and you get to put it right back into play. Obviously, like triggering its 1 plate ability for something like Fire Spray. This is a 2-cost way to just like hit for 5 again. But yeah, I think this card is broken.
Today's
Yeah,
theme,
broken.
broken.
Yeah,
This is the broken.
I did pick a lot of really
It'll
good
be
cards.
interesting to see what comes out of set 3 if they're already breaking on these many cards in set 2.
Yeah, this card seems wild. Like I think the thing with this card that is like it's either bad or broken.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this.
Yeah.
There's not like I don't feel like this one is like in between, but because like it's also like how does this fit in your deck as an action? Like you're playing. It feels a little clunky to me in some situations, but it's unique that it'll probably hit your units more than theirs. But like you can also just like tap a unit because it's like a ready unit. Like if they have two ready units, you just like they get to replay one, but it comes
Oh,
into
that's
play
Tap it.
exhausted.
It's an
Yeah.
exhaust.
On the low end.
Yeah, it's just really
What if
versatile.
they do it to your record, Justin? Then you lose another resource.
We're going down. That's
I mean,
fine.
Ooh.
if they're killing another thing for 5, you don't have
Shots
to do the
fired.
resource, right?
Can you imagine if we
Oh,
just
okay,
killed
okay.
two things?
Yeah, I was
Um,
gonna say that'd been kind of.
But
funny.
it's just
No,
it's
I'm
so
going down.
versatile. Like exhaust their guy, that's really good. Play another fire spray, that's really good. Trigger your Bodhi again, that's really good. Like it just does reset my guy's health. Like I have a sentinel, like I have a 5 power sentinel or something, and I want to reset it. I get to do that.
I think that's when we evaluate these cards, seeing what the low end, like the low end isn't a whiff. The low end is still like a lay a tap, or like Mike said, a heal. That kind of signals to me that it's really good. If the
If you
low
did it
end
to
is still
boss,
pretty awesome.
You don't
if you
get
did
the
it to
trigger.
boss, you don't get the trigger.
No, because
it's
after
return
it
first.
Yeah.
and it's a new boss when it resolves.
Right.
The
Get the ambush though.
You do get the
Get the
ambush again
ambush.
for sure. I mean, yeah, and like doing it for ambush. Like there's so many ways to make this card good, and because it doesn't like progress the board without another unit, like it might not be a staple 3 of in every mono yellow deck, but like it's definitely going to be at least a 1 of in every mono yellow deck. Like I can't imagine not playing this, but I can't imagine not playing 3 of it.
Yeah,
that's a good
I
point.
could see it's
Fair
the
enough.
2x of
Right,
like
it's
the
2x,
3x,
exactly.
3x, 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 and then 2 of this.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't really ever want to draw like 2.
Yeah,
Then
I mean,
it's
you
like
definitely don't want to
not-
draw all 3. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
when I like build the deck, it's like 3. I'm seeing like 1.5 of it a game, right? And
Yeah,
like
exactly.
2 is that sweet spot of like 0.9 or something.
Yeah, that's why I actually went down on R2s to be
Yeah.
expected to, because it's like you don't actually
You
want to
don't want to see more than one.
R.I.P. R2.
That'd be a good thing to talk about at some point, like
Mm.
number of card in deck for like into
Deck construction. Yeah, that sounds like a YouTube
what
video.
that trend.
All right, I attached this one because I really don't know. Legal Authority. It's a 2-cost upgrade. It gives you +0, +2, so +2 health. Attached to a friendly unit. Attached unit captures an enemy non-leader unit with less power than it. So like you put this on a 4-cost guy, and you can capture something with 4 or less power. It goes on anything.
4 power guy. Yeah.
4 power guy. Yeah. It goes on any unit, space or ground, and then like it can go on, your leader. It can go on a big unit like Wrecker, but it's an insta capture for 2 that buffs your health, keeps your guy alive longer. Is this good? I don't think it. I think it's like very surely not broken.
good.
Do you think it's good?
It's not broken. I think it's good. I mean, thinking about the leaders to put it on, like, can you buff your Boba and capture something with the 2 resources at the end? I don't know.
It's interesting.
Yeah, putting it on your own leader because they're the hardest thing to remove in the game.
Or
Yeah,
it can be interesting
That's a
in
good
something
call.
like Kylo, where you're buffing your unit to maybe be like 5 or 6 power, and then playing this and have it captured.
Yeah, it seems like it fits in things that are trying to like make tempo plays or stall into like a big mass removal like a super laser.
I guess the thing I haven't seen yet is capture good?
right.
Yeah, I mean, there's so few good capture. Like, there's very good draft capture cards already. Like with like the green unit that's like a 3/5. There's like the bounty hunter card, but those are like very limited cards. When we're talking about constructed or premier playable, there aren't
Right.
that many. It's like the Mandalorian's rifle I've been playing a bit with, which like that was good. I took a K. I mean, I don't think I took a K2 with Mando, so like he's hard to get rid of. That seemed pretty decent, but
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like this is the cheapest way to capture. So like if
Yeah.
this card isn't good, then like is capture good? You know?
Yeah, capture's been a mechanic they haven't really talked about that much because it just feels like it's a worse kill. and like there's not like killing things is all that hard
Yeah.
in this game, but there could be some
Way more
things that like
impactful in
trigger,
draft.
yeah, like trigger off of it. I think there hasn't been like we got like this big wave of smuggle, and there hasn't been that big wave of like capture cards like that benefit. So like this card's good right now. It's like a sort of reasonable removal spell. It's sort of almost like a that kind of like open fiery type card that's like, hey, it's really good and limited, and it'll probably be constructed too, because it's just like a good card. Like it does something really strong. Um, but if there's like if there's like a legendary unit that says when you capture, you like untap, so then it's just something along those lines. Then all of a sudden you're looking at, okay, cool. Now we got to actually look at this card a little
It
differently.
just seems interesting as a way to like, they slam a sentinel, and you're like, okay, I'll take this. I didn't have to attack into it, and now I have a guy who's holding your sentinel hostage, and I can keep attacking, and you just tapped out for it. But I don't know. I think it's probably bad, but I think the jury's out on capture.
I mean, I'm definitely gonna throw it into decks and see how how it plays. Like, it's definitely gonna get into testing, and then
test it for sure.
But I think like you identified, it's probably better as a tempo play or as just an identified of like putting on your leader. Because I will say, like, sometimes as a control deck, you have so many things to answer, but like you don't have the resources to do it. Like cheap things like this, are at a premium because like on 5 resources you can do 2 things.
Yeah.
Essentially.
All right. One thing I forgot to put on the main slide, but we're going to do is some Patreon questions. So that's it for spoilers. But I do have Patreon questions. So we were already at an hour, so we can burn through these pretty quick. But when we did this 2 weeks ago, we had 581 active members, and now we have 733, which is crazy. We had like a huge run yesterday. Something like 15.
Must be like store showdown prep, or just people like. I think people go to store showdown and then want to talk about them. Like, we're getting so many store showdown reports, and it's cool to see and like see what, like we identified earlier, like what decks are winning, all that stuff. So
I think what I was in one of the channels the other day, and they were talking about how they were at Store Showdown, like talking about how great our community is, and which was great to our Patreons, like talking us up. We're not necessarily asking people to do that, but they were like, "Oh, you should join KTOD. Like, it's so good. Like, I got this list, and you win one, and then they tell their friends to join and stuff."
Also, I have randomly seen that on Facebook a couple times, and it's been pretty great.
Yeah, and for there to be 700 something members, and like the only toxicity in the whole Discord is Steve, like that's pretty good.
Oh, come on.
Like we have 732 people that are very chill, and then Steve.
I mean, his intellectual property did lead to a naming convention.
You thought I was toxic when I used the word numpty? Everyone was freaking out pod 1, and then now you have
you're printing badges. I was gonna say, literally,
come on now.
Steve's intellectual property of numpty. We got to be real careful about.
You're
gonna be getting residuals forever.
Die a villain or live long enough to become the hero, right?
The numpty.
Oh, you flipped it
like
nice.
that. I think it's backwards, but that probably applies to me more.
Right. Well, I had to fit it to you. All right. So
it's also a credit like to the people in the community. Like, we're just 4 members, but like what it's become is like a amalgamation of like everyone and their efforts, and like we got the yellow Sabine thread, we got the blue Boba thread,
it was dreamed as a place where people could get better without hearing the noise of the public, and it has definitely gotten to be that.
I'm still not getting any better at constructed though.
You need to play once in a while.
I know.
It would help if you played the game.
Jay Vickery, completely new to competitive TCGs. I'm wondering, what's your process for testing lists? Do you take notes? What sort of notes do you take? Turn by turn, i.e., they played something less time consuming. I do not take notes. Once in a while, I will jot some feedback into Discord to like talk about things that I think are relevant, but I otherwise don't keep notes or stats or anything like that. What about you guys?
Yeah, I've never been a stats guy. I mean, you know this. We played not thousands, but very many games together competitively. I think there's a feel to it where
I agree.
You get a testing partner or team. It could be something this size, could be much bigger. I actually think that you don't want to go too big.
Correct.
And then you play, and you might play a matchup like 4 or 5 times. I don't think you need like something that's statistically relevant in that side of things. But then you need to have a conversation afterwards for maybe anywhere from 5 minutes to hours, talking about what that matchup felt like, what you could do. Just all that comes out of the analysis post-sport. I think about very early, Mike, me and you played like Boba mirrors. We played 5 Boba Mirrors. Just wanted to see what happened. At first, it was like, oh, the player will play Barrage wins, and then it was like, oh, that Space Lane wins, and then you sort of add those to your repertoire, and you've got you've gained a skill of how to win a specific match with a specific line. Or you recognize like, hey, a matchup's terrible, like Sabine into green or yellow boba right now. You're like, oh man, this is just bad. You just have to accept things. So you might have to play a little, really high stakes in that matchup if you face it because you're up against it. So I think the conversation post getting games is important.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I think another quick thing, and I know Steve, you want to jump in, so I'll keep it quick. Another thing is like when you do play those games, like obviously you want to play your best and you want to like win the game because you're trying hard, but like testing to find what works versus just trying to like win at all costs. Like sometimes I'll go down a line that I'm not sure about versus like playing the same thing over because I'm comfortable with it and I just want to win the game. Like identifying different lines you can take is so valuable. Like, okay, I don't think this is good, but like, let me just see. Like, is it okay to take a turn to resupply against an aggro deck? Unless I have these specific cards, probably is too slow. But you got to see how it plays.
And to that point, like it's really important to be objective. You don't want to get to the point where like you win with something and maybe it's like your idea to an extent, and then you like will it to be good. Like it's just really bad testing. You don't want to do that.
Remove the ego,
remove the ego, and be like, listen, yeah, you know what? This was good at first, but it's not. And my idea didn't work. And then let's figure out what's next.
Along the notes line, I think it's 2 things are pretty interesting. Well, one, the number of event-winning deck lists that have been written down on bar napkins across this team over the years is like mind-blowing. But one thing that we've always done for every game we always played and we had huge success with was email threads. Like we used to have like thousands of emails in a thread, just bouncing ideas back and forth. And now that's been completely obsolete because of Discord. Like I didn't really never thought of it before, but like we don't ever email about this game anymore. Whereas we used to always do that with every other game, and now everything's just typed up into Discord.
Yeah, and it's there accessible for like all like in the Discord, like Justin was just saying that like we have a thread for every deck. So like the people who come in and they post a question about Yellow Sabine, we're like, oh, go to the Yellow Sabine thread, catch up on that conversation. It's been going on for weeks. Jump in, ask that question. If someone didn't ask it already, they'll answer it, and if not, they probably can link you to the comment and part of the thread because they remember it. You can also search
reading
the
question again from Jay. It's also like don't get caught up in your systems. Don't get like caught in the minutia of like, oh, I need to fill out like notes on that game, and I need to think about what happened on.
Don't make it a chore. You're just
don't make it a chore. Just have a conversation like, hey, what happened on that game? Like, oh yeah, I think it was because you had this, and let's try it with 3 of that.
Yeah, chatting about it's going to help you process it better.
Yeah, the reflection, because like you can talk about what you resourced, what like just you get a lot of value out of playing, but like you extend the value by talking about it versus like if you never play and only talk about it, then you don't see how things feel. Like like a lineup on paper is supposed to be good until it hits the court, that kind of thing. But getting the most out of your play, I think, is having these discussions after and really going into detail about.
Last thing I'll say:
what felt good.
20 years as a math teacher, 25 years playing competitive games. I've never used an app for calculations. Like I've never used like, oh, I'll draw this at 7.2% of the time on turn 3. I've never used one of them. Even when we added the 9th 2-drop to Avengers,
it was all feel.
Recruits, the Falcon, it was feel.
It was all feel. All right, Plitocrates. When is it right to concede a game to give yourself the best chance of winning a match? Is it only game 1 you might ever concede, or is it correct to concede game 2 ever? Do you ever just snap concede game 1 to have the most available with sideboard games? I don't think I'd ever snap concede game 1. I'd at least play a couple turns.
That would have to be very case dependent.
Yeah.
It'd have to be like a control type mirror that is going to time that you've identified
that you think you're going to lose.
But I'd at least play a like lightning quick first couple turns to see if they bricked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll say this: if you know your opponent's going to steal your sideboard, then snap concede game 1 to have enough time to find it.
You never had your sideboard,
Mike.
He had it the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the right time. I mean, I've definitely conceded games that were just completely over, and when the guy plays the third restoration walker and you literally
Yeah,
physically can't win.
I
Like,
think if you're the right time to concede game one is if you're losing a match and it's like you're above 98%. Not to kind of said I wasn't use stats, but like you're in that
If
you're
you
at
know
that
you're
spot
losing,
where you're losing. There are games where like you could theoretically draw any card in your deck on successive turns and still lose. So once you get to that point, just concede. There's no benefit in like the life total going to zero is like a pride type thing because you do want more time.
yeah. If time
If
is
you're
a,
losing,
yeah. I
it
think
gives
the
you
very
more
simple
time to.
question is if you're worried about the time, then yeah, you should
Play
concede
faster.
because, like, if you're not worried about time, it doesn't matter, right? So like, it's only
Yeah.
if you're worried about time. So if even
you
like
should
the
never
slightest
snap
thought,
though.
yeah, you should never snap. You should always give
Because
as
I've
Interesting
much.
thing.
won, and we've all won matchups that you're like not supposed, like game ones, you're never supposed to win. Like can steal games.
People get
no,
greedy.
there's no 100 zeros ever.
The discard pile is not a huge thing in this game right now, but yesterday I played against in Magic I lost game one and right before I conceded I just picked up his whole graveyard and just looked at it over because I didn't know the format very well and just read a bunch of cards like right before his combat.
Nice.
And then he was like about to swing for lethal and I'm like, yeah, I'm good now. Let's go to game two and I won the match because
You
there was like three cards that I didn't know they were new cards. I didn't know what they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right. What do you do when you're in a slump? Do you pull a Mark Grace or do you play a completely different deck for a bit or go play a different game altogether? How do you slump bust?
Hold on, Mark. Great.
What's a Mark Grace?
Who's Mark Grace?
He's a baseball
With
player, a
Cubs?
Cubs player in
Cubs
the
baseball
90s.
player?
I meant to
Yeah.
look it up. I don't know what a pull a Mark Grace is.
Yeah,
Did he go
what would
like play
that
a different
be?
sport?
I don't know.
Did he
That's a
change
guy,
his
Mike.
number?
Mike and I would know.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just don't
did he
remember.
change
You
his
guys
number?
answer the question. I'll look it up.
I've never been in a slump in my life, so I can't answer that.
Well, this was to the point earlier to Maddie. You don't stick with
Oh yeah,
you.
we
You,
won't
you,
say
you
it
don't.
on. It's not pod friendly, but it's pretty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Now
wow.
I gotta look it up.
It's
I'll
just
send it to the group.
gemmable, basically. Do you pull?
Yeah.
Do you gem?
Oh, here we go.
That's all.
Wow, that's crazy. I don't. Well, so if you're losing with a deck, you should try to explore different things, either with the deck approaches. You shouldn't just like do I'm going to keep losing with the same things.
Yeah,
All right.
I would
What a
switch up the
reference.
deck. I would switch up the deck. That's what I would do.
Even like sometimes, I mean, we're making content around the game. Like before like the kind of the lull, like when it was the build up, we were playing a lot, and like I was starting to get burnt out a little bit. So like switching formats or just playing something new and different is a way to like keep things fresh. Like I started just like, I don't know this deck, let me just learn it, and like you lose that like, oh, I'm playing the deck I know I should be winning. You lose that like connecting yourself to the result, which is again something we kind of talked about in testing,
Yeah.
removing that. Yeah, just mix it up, have fun again. Don't sweat it. It's like this is a hobby too. Like, and one thing
Yeah.
I told somebody who didn't make top 8 at a 1K recently, I was like, this is all part of a process. Like, you're not going to go into every tournament playing your best. I know I wasn't when I did that 1K and I made a mental error.
Right,
But
right,
like,
right.
you're not always going to play your best. Like, things go up and down. Like, there's performance
Yeah.
considerations.
Yeah, but
like,
just like the last question, it's like you can't be results oriented in your thinking. It's process based thinking, strategic based thinking.
Mhm.
All right, Mad Surfer 728. When getting closer to the date of event, how do you determine what cards are essential to a list and what gets cut? I always find the last few cards to be the most difficult to nail down.
Yeah, and you're welcome to the mental challenge of this. The last cards are always hard. I know for Star Wars CCG, for Worlds, I would always bring 61 cards to the tournament in the morning, like as I was walking to the event, and I would decide the last one right before I wrote my paper deck list. Or
I would always
have you guys decide it sometimes.
I was gonna say, I always
And
text
then
Mike.
I will say yesterday going back to this Magic event, I had my 60 was set, and my 15 card sideboard was not. I had one final choice, and I let my 6-year-old decide, and he chose Kalidas, which is like an anti graveyard card, and then in my quarterfinals match, I played against Dredge.
Nice.
Just had the second copy and drew Kalidas. Who knows if it was that one, which just like completely ran away with it, and won pretty easily. So sometimes it's that type of stuff. I think in general, like you do have to the opportunity cost is huge, marginal cost, whatever it is, opportunity cost, and then that card is sometimes you're gonna be wrong. Sometimes you're gonna say, man, I made the wrong choice. Like that's just what it is. But sometimes you're gonna like choose that last card, and that card's gonna like just like I was saying, is gonna win you a tournament because you identified it.
And it's like kind of joke about like, Steve texting me and asking me, but this is a strategy I use with my students, with my kids, with myself. Like, ask someone random, flip a coin. If you don't love
Yeah.
that decision, you just do the other one. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
I do that. I love that.
yeah, it's very simple. I can't decide. Let me hear someone make this decision for me, either by an
And then
arbitrary
once it's locked,
randomization,
right?
and then you just know. You're like, all right, I don't like that. You just automatically do the other one. It's
Another thing is like, there's only so many slots in your deck list, right? And so every
Mhm.
card should have a purpose. Like, why is it there? So when you have your say you like to have a 15 card sideboard and trim it down, like these last cards you're deciding, there's a reason for them. Am I expecting a lot of Boba or a lot of Sabine? So like when you make that decision, you just have to choose like, am I okay having like a few less percentage points against Boba or Sabine? And then
yeah.
you just
You just have to
pick
make a
that.
call. You just have to make a
Yeah.
call,
And
make a guess.
it's
We're all
not
just
always gonna be the
guessing.
right thing. Yep. And again, that's why it's part of the process and not like one result. If you get so worried about one result, you're gonna make poor choices.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's everything. We did an hour and
Nice.
16 minutes. Not bad.
Nice. Yeah.
Not bad.
There we
Um,
go.
we'll be back. So we have our spoiler on Friday.
Mhm.
2 spoilers. Hope you're fans of Star Wars. And number 2, and then we'll be back in 2 weeks with our next podcast. Wrap up Shadows completely. Should be completely spoiled by then. So we'll say goodbye to Spark of Rebellion, and we'll be fully embraced in Shadow.
Dope.
All right. Check you later.
Later, y'all.
See you guys.
GG's.